Hey everybody, Questwise here, and today I want to talk about this idea that happens to me usually about once a year. I get this sort of want and this need to this crazy, like, world breaking, genre bending, time traveling kind of game, and it's happened again. It sort of came to me a couple of days ago, and I've been sort of obsessing over how I want to pull this thing off. Uh, the biggest hurdle that I always run up upon when I'm trying to do this kind of thing, I come up with this idea, is what system to use. Now, I sometimes think about GURPS, but GURPS has such a huge level of like work on the game master side of things to actually even just get it to bringing it to the table. And while GURPS is a great game, it's just a lot of extra work to that time that I just don't have right now to sort of build that whole iceberg idea, right? That 90% of the iceberg is below the surface of the water, and that's all the work I have to do to have the characters just see the 10%. So the one that I always default to, and because it just fits perfectly with always the sort of ideas that I want to portray, is Riffs from Palladium Books. And this already has a wonderfully built in awesome history across the entire sort of Palladium megaverse of games and books. It's already built in here and already has an awesome history already kind of preset. So my idea is this, and again, this is going to be just my sort of world building notes. This is very early on into my idea of the kind of process, but I wanted to present to you my process. And then next week, I've been told that my Rift's Bestiary, which is brand new out, I think it came out today, is in the mail and should be here very shortly. And on next week, I want to take some of those crazy beasties that are in there and plop them into this as well too. Today I just wanted to kind of give you my sort of thoughts on what I'm building and how this kind of process works in my head. So first of all, like I said, I want to do this kind of crazy like slipstream multi megaverse kind of a game. And it's going to start in Rifts. It's going to start in the Rifts universe. And I'm going to do it sort of troop style play. In that, I'm going to use Rifts. The players will build characters. A Rifts character, they'll also build a Chaos Earth character, in which I'll be using the Chaos Earth First Responders and Psychic Scream Raw Edition. And I'm going to also be using the Rifts Antarctica Raw Edition as well for stuff. And then I'm also going to have them build a Beyond the Supernatural character. And so how it's going to work is it's going to begin, the campaign will begin in Rifts with this event that happens. That's going to sort of shatter the like slipstream time continuum, whatever, and then we're going to shift back into time to it happening, sort of the effects of it, the ripples of this effect happening in Chaos Earth as the apocalypse is starting to happen, and then slip back into Beyond the Supernatural. So the event actually occurs in Rift's Earth in the future, but the ripples from it begin to sort of affect time as it goes back, and probably forward too, but we're not going to go forward as quite of yet. I haven't really figured out. I'm still toying with ideas of what the big bad is going to be, like the big enemy of this thing. I'm thinking like a vampire intelligence, maybe some kind of a Splagorthian accident, maybe some kind of alien god, or maybe all of them put together. I also had the thought of using Archie from the Riffs book, the first Riffs book that came out. There's the Archie thing, right? The guy who's the coalition specialist who simply he thinks these ideas and the machine builds these things. So I thought maybe throwing Archie in there somewhere as well too would be really, really fun. But I'm going to be drawing inspiration from a lot of different things. And the other book that I'm going to be using a lot for this is the Megaverse Builder as well too. This is going to be my friend for doing things like building strange pocket dimensions and stuff as well too, as well as sort of where this sort of being comes from. And I want it to be a big weird entity who has sort of agents and minions that begin to sort of spread throughout the megaverse, as it will. What I thought as I was reading through Rifts Antarctica, there is a part of this that talks that kind of captured my imagination, caught my attention, and it talks about Mount Terror and the devil Osphorus, and they're this Blagorthian city that's nearby, this sort of hunting lodge kind of thing. But Mount Terror is this volcano where two ley lines had previously had run concurrently next to each other, parallel to each other. And the demon had formed, or the devil had formed this giant, like almost like focusing crystal of ice, and bent the ley lines so that they crossed and formed a nexus. So my idea with that was I was going to have something happen, some kind of strange event, and again, still early thought processes of where that nexus is going to collapse in on itself and then almost supernova. And it's going to, the ripples from that are going to sort of shockwave out, but also draws the attention of whatever my big bad is. I'm probably thinking like an alien intelligence. I want to weave in this weird Lovecraftian kind of idea into this whole thing as well too. And then that's going to draw the attention of this creature, or this being, this entity, and it's going to sort of focus itself on Earth, but not just Earth. The idea I had was that this entity doesn't see time as a linear thing like we do, but it sees just time of humanity as a whole. And so it's going to be, focusing on Rift's Earth and the chaos Earth as the apocalypse starts to happen, as well as sort of the strong psychics from the modern age of Beyond the Supernatural. I want to weave in the sort of the Laszlo agency and some of the secret agents from that as well too. But like I said, what I'm going to do is we're going to start in Rift's Earth in the future, and then we're gonna play a couple sessions there to set up what's happening. Then we're gonna use the ripple effects of that to play out an event in Chaos Earth using first responders as the apocalypse starts to happen, and it sort of changes the timeline of the book. And then we're going to play a little bit there to set up that scene, and then we're going to ripple back to modern day Earth with Beyond the Supernatural, and then eventually all those timelines are going to cross. So those characters at some point will all meet in some certain different way somewhere in the time stream, and that's where the Megaverse Builder is going to come into a lot of play. So I'm going to start there, and that's kind of the basis of my idea so far. Like I said, I don't have any sort of concrete things down, but I'm really looking forward to the bestiary that's coming out for Rifts, which again, like I said, as the filming of this thing should be a couple of days, it'll be here to me. And I want to use some of those beasties to sort of act as minions to this crazy intelligence entity. Now, there's a couple of boons and banes to this whole idea, right? And this is I always come up with these great, what I think are amazing ideas, and then the more I sort of pilfer my way through these ideas, I realize that there are good things and bad things about this. So some of the boons, some of the good things about this idea, and it's a giant multi-character campaign, right? I love this kind of stuff. And like I said, about once a year, I get sort of so caught up in this idea of like doing these crazy sort of time-bending whatever events. And so that's one of the good things, right? This is fun, and what's really great about Rifts is it allows you to sort of jump right into that power level. With things like powered armor and plasma cannons and rail guns and all, this kind of stuff, DBs and stuff. First level in Rifts is like 12th, 15th level in D&D, right? So the power level is right up there, depending on how you want to play this. So that's a great boon for me, is that it's right. The power level is right to start this campaign right in the midst of the action. Another great thing is that it's a great exploration of the Rift system. I'm going to be using books from across the Palladium Books line. I'm going to draw on some stuff from Palladium Fantasy. I'm going to be drawing stuff in from Beyond the Supernatural. In fact, there's a couple of things from Mystic China that I really want to weave in at some point. One of my favorite characters or character classes is the Leyline Walker, and I love to try to explore that sort of history and mythology that's built up around them, right? And it's just always been very, very enticing to me. I've always wanted to explore that more, and so this kind of a game lets you explore a lot of the Rifts, or even just a Palladium line of books as well too. The other great thing is it's an immense world building project, and I'm going to do a lot of this with the players. So while I'm going to set up the basis of things and the scenarios for each timeline, it's really going to be based upon the characters' actions of how this stuff kind of plays out. And so we're going to be doing a lot of world building together, which is really, really exciting for me. Now, some of the banes, some of the drawbacks of this idea is it is a giant multi-character campaign. Now, I know I said this was a boon, but this can also be a bane. This is a crazy event, and it could just spiral into oblivion very, very quickly. There's so much going on in my head right now with this idea, and none of those things sort of align correctly. So it could be an awesome experience, and it could also just be a complete failure. I might get into a game and realize that this isn't really going anywhere. I have no idea where this is headed. So again, it's very early on. So this could be a bane. Although I think, to me, in my personal opinion, as long as everybody's having fun, we're doing it right. And like I said, I'm going to build off of the ton of characters and what they're doing as well too. Another one of the banes is that it requires, I think it would require some pretty experienced players as far as the Palladium Books line goes. This is not a game where you're exploring the Rift's universe, the core book. It's going to be something where some sort of previous knowledge of several of the settings is going to be kind of required by the players. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of me just sitting around trying to explain the history of Earth and Rift's Earth and Chaos Earth and all this kind of stuff. So if I think that it would be a boon if I could find players who are really semi-knowledgeable in the Palladium line and the Rift's timeline and that kind of stuff as well too. So it could be a bane. It could be a really slow slugfest if I have characters who have never played Palladium Book stuff before. Another one of the banes, and again, this was a boon as well, is that it's going to be an immense job of world building. Luckily, though, we have this, and this is an amazing product. If you guys haven't, if you're a Palladium Books fan, if you're a Rifts fan, and you don't have a copy of the Megaverse Builder, I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth the investment, and it's not. I mean, it's like $17. It's not a huge thing. But it's an amazing resource for building different dimensions and ideas for different, lots of random charts and tables in here that sort of help you build these kind of things. And I expect that there's going to be a lot of this sort of like megaverse hopping in this, especially once the sort of the entity arrives, right? Its minions will be doing a lot of its work, but once it sort of arrives at this rift nexus kind of idea, in Antarctica, it'll there'll be a lot of like sort of genre hopping around and stuff as well too. So I'm going to see some things. I'm going to weave in not only ley line walkers, but I'm going to be weaving in things like rune weapons and all sorts of great crazy stuff as well too. So I hope that you'll join me on this crazy journey. Hopefully this goes somewhere. If you're a Palladium fan, you're a Rifts player, let me know. Reach out to me. Shoot me a message. Post in the comments down below. I would love to try to put this thing together. I don't have a lot of, I have a few Palladium fans in my area, but not a lot of them have a lot of experience with this kind of stuff. And so if you are, I'm thinking about maybe just doing this online as a Zoom, kind of using Zoom to run a campaign. So if you're interested, drop me a line and we'll put together maybe a group of players and stuff as well too. But this could be a very, very awesome experiment. And I hope it is, because like I said, once a year, I get this sort of crazy, whatever, itch to do some kind of awesome genre-bending, time-traveling kind of thing. So until next time, I'm Questwise, and I am out.